this CV, that is comprehensive Viva, what exactly we are going to uh, do is that what are the topics or what are the points which are to be essential at the time of suppose in the gate point of view or in the competitive exam point of view or in the general interview point of view, because when someone is asked about if you are civil engineering, someone is hiring for you as a civil engineering post, then it is necessary or that fellow will ask you certain basic questions which is related to the civil. And in that civil there are so many subjects, like there is a estimating costing, there is a concrete technology, there is a building design and drawing, then there is uh, essay, that is structural analysis, environmental geotech, water resources and all. So there are few points which generally people ask in your interview. Mainly when people take the interview, they are focused on first the concrete. Second, they are also focused on the drawings parameter. Third, they are also focused on quantification. Quantification, and some people also ask something about steel. Some people also ask something about the steel. Now, when we are going to see concrete, why people are more focused or more what we can say attentive towards the concrete? Because in case of India, it's a generalized construction material. Means 90% of construction is with the concrete and steel. So therefore, people are more focused about what exactly the concrete is and how that concrete is going to behave. Now, when we are talking about the concrete means they are ask you about the fresh properties of concrete and hardened properties of concrete. So in this case, there are fresh properties and there are hardened properties. Hardened properties. Now, when we are talking about the fresh properties, when we are talking about the fresh properties means when your concrete is not set, when your concrete is not set. So in this case, they generally ask about the workability. Secondly, they ask you water cement ratio. Third, they ask about what do you mean by nominal size of aggregate that will be used in this concrete. They may also ask about what is the what we can say interpretation or correlation or importance of sieve analysis. Secondly, what is the impact of fineness modulus on your concrete? So these are the points which are to be essential at the time of fresh concreting. At the time of fresh concreting. Secondly, when we are moving towards the hardened statements, the properties when it is the properties of concrete when it will be exhibit after its setting time. So in this case, people are asking about what do you mean by compressive strength? Compressive strength. Generally, what suppose M25 stands for? What does M25 stand for? So M is for mix, 25 for characteristic strength or some other strength, or what should be its standard deviation? Now M25 means what exactly the M25? Then how many number of cubes you are going to cast? How many number of cube results you are going to take at the time of assessment of this standard deviation? So if we are not considering IS 456, if you are not considering the IS 456, then we have to assess the standard deviation for the concrete. And for the assessment of standard deviation of the concrete, we have to take the compressive strength of certain number of cubes. So how many cubes are required? Secondly, if suppose three values are given, suppose 27, 32, and this is suppose 30. These are the three cube results you are going to get: 27 MPa, 32 MPa, and 30 MPa. If someone asks you whether these test results are okay or it is not okay, if these test results are okay or it is not okay, so how you are going to give the justification whether these cube results are okay or it is not okay? So first cube 27 MPa, second cube gives you 32 MPa, third cube gives you 30 MPa. So in this case, what should be your approach? In this case, what should be your approach? How you can give the justification that whether these cube results are okay for that particular concrete or it is not okay for that particular concrete. So how we are going to find out? In IS 456, there is one condition is given. Find out the average of this. Find out the average of this. Suppose, can you tell me the average of this?
$29.66.
29.66. So this is 29.66. Now, tell me plus 15% and minus 15% of this 29.66. So, plus 15% and minus 15%. Plus 15% of this and minus 15% of this.
Plus 15% is 34.11.
34.11 and minus 15% of this
25.21.
25.21. Now, according to IS, what we are going to say? According to IS, we are going to say there are 3 test results, 3 cube test results. This is the average of this, and then take a 15% plus minus. So this is plus 15%, this is minus 15%. Now check out whether your individual test results, this one, and this one, lies in this range, lies in the range, in this range. So my results are varies from what? 34 to 25. So 27 इस range में है.
Yes, sir.
So this result is okay. Second, 32. This is lies in this range. Yes. So this is also okay. And third one is again okay. So as these 3 test results followed by this condition of plus minus 15%, it means that the cube results that you are obtained, those cube results are to be consist or are to be considered for further process. Are to be considered for further process. And suppose if instead of 32, if it is say 36, if it is 36, then this is not lies. Obviously, that value is going to change. But consider if that value is not lies in this range, means this is not okay. Ultimately, these cube results you have to discard. This cube results you have to discard. Okay, so this kind of things also necessary. Now, where we have to require this kind of things, we have to require this kind of things when you are appointed or deputed for the quality control department. For the quality control department. Secondly, if you are deputed for the quality control department, in that quality control department, generally it is necessary for us to consider the SD. SD means standard deviation, how much it going to vary. Then in that case also, how many number of cubes you are going to consider. We require 30 sets. We require 30 sets. And what do you mean by set? Set means it comprises of 3 cubes. So 3 into 90. Sorry, 3 into 30. So 90 cubes are required. 90 cubes are required to be tested. 90 cubes are required to be tested. Now, when you are, this is the minimum value. But again, when you are going to take the 30 sets, those 30 sets should satisfy this condition plus minus 15%. Should satisfy the plus minus 15%. So this kind of things is interpret. Secondly, there is one more question. Generally, people ask, what is the interpretation of fineness modulus? What is the interpretation of fineness modulus? Now, people saying that it is a summation of cumulative percentage of preterm divided by 100. What exactly that 3.4 represent, or what exactly that 5 represent? Fineness modulus represent average size of particle present in that aggregate. Average size of particle present in that aggregate. Now, when fineness modulus is nothing but it is a value, say 3.2 or 1.2 or 7 or 6 or 5, whatever. We always measured that value from the bottom. We always measured that value from the bottom. For example, there is a 75, then 150, then 300, then 600, then 1.12, then 2.36, then 4.75, then there is 10 mm, then 20, 25, 40. These are the sieve sizes. These are the sieve sizes. Suppose my value FM, fineness modulus is 5. Fineness modulus is 5. So what you have to do, you have to measure the 5 from the bottom. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one is 5. So the average size of particle present in my aggregate is 1.12, is 1.12. If suppose my fineness modulus is suppose 7, then this is 6 and this is 7. So the fineness modulus is, means average size of particle present is 4.36. Secondly, one more basically people ask how we are going to determine the zone of fine aggregate. So at the time of determination of zone of fine aggregate, we are consider the 600 micron sieve. We are going to consider the 600 micron sieve. So what exactly we are going to see in case of 600 micron sieve? We are going to see on 600 micron sieve what is the percentage of passing. And in IS 383, one table is given. According to that table, on the basis of percentage of passing through 600 micron, we can find out the zone of that fine aggregate, zone of that fine aggregate. Secondly, again, the people are asking about what do you mean by SSD condition? What do you mean by SSD condition? Again, SSD condition means what? Suppose this is the aggregate and these are the few pores on the aggregate. These are the few pores on the aggregate. I'm not talking about the pores inside the body. I'm not talking about the pores inside the body. Suppose this is the aggregate, I'm talking about the surface pores. I'm talking about the surface pores. I'm not talking about कि इस body के अंदर जो pores है उसका क्या. So surface pores. If those surface pores are filled up with water, if those surface pores are to be filled up with water, it is filled up with water, and the remaining surface, remaining solid surface is dry. So this surface is dry and these pores full of water, then this condition is basically called as SSD condition. This condition is basically called as SSD condition. Is it okay? Second, at site in small scale construction activity, they having a weigh batcher. So how that weigh batcher is going to ask, because if you want to measure suppose 100 kg of aggregate, so on that weigh batcher we have a weight of say 10 grams, and that 10 grams are to be correlated on that lever arm. एक lever arm रहता है जिसमें हम weight attach करते हैं. Okay, this is the lever arm. So this technology also try visit any construction site, see the weigh batcher and see how they are going to adjust this thing. Secondly, slump. What should be the slump value? And whether we have to fill that slump cone in 3 layers or we have to fill that slump cone in 4 layers is again question. It should be filled with 4 layers and each layer is compacted up to 25 number of blows. Second point is at the time of filling the cubes, you have to fill the cubes in 3 layers and each layer are to be compacted with 25 number of blows. Some people may consider 35 number of blows also. Some people also consider the 35 number of blows. Secondly, people may ask you about what exactly the honeycombing and what is the root cause of honeycombing. Basically, the honeycombing is nothing but what we can say. It's a porous structure, and this porous structure is created because of the insufficient compaction. It is a porous structure which is created because of the insufficient compaction. Secondly, many times people are saying why it is necessary for us to do the curing. The curing is not necessary to supply the extra amount of water to the concrete for the hydration. It is not necessary that you should provide extra water to the concrete for the hydration. Curing is to be done to maintain that temperature regime, so that whatever the water initially you added in your concrete, that water should not be get evaporated. And if suppose that water is evaporated, then that water are to be replenished through this curing water. तो जो बारिश के समय में भी जो जिसका घर बनते रहता है लेकिन वो पानी देते रहता है ना, it's a kind of what we can say unnecessary thing. There is no sense कि बारिश आ रही है और लेकिन आप आपके घर को पानी दे रहे हो. So when there is no any kind of evaporation, how can that water get evaporated which is already mixed to your concrete? When that water is evaporated, then and only then it is necessary for you to create a temperature regime so that that water should not be get evaporated. Secondly, there is again, if you are going from the gate point of view, then generally they are asking the question on the basis of maturity. They are asking the question on the basis of maturity. Now, what exactly the maturity is? The maturity means what happened? Uh, you have curing is necessary for the replenishment of water, but if you increase the temperature of that curing water, if you increase the temperature of that curing water, then the rate of gain of strength of concrete, rate of gain of strength of concrete is increases. Okay, that rate of gain of concrete is increases ultimately कि आप concrete को instead of keeping in cold water for 28 days, you can put that concrete cubes into the hot water bath for say 3 days or 2 days. The strength achieve more faster. So that concept is basically called as maturity. That concept is basically called as maturity. But again, when there is a maturity, there is one factor. आप क्या कर रहे हो? कंक्रीट को नॉर्मली सेट नहीं होने दे रहे हो, नॉर्मली उसका स्ट्रेंथ अचीव करने नहीं दे रहे हो. व्हाट यू आर गोइंग टू डू, यू आर गिव सम काइंड ऑफ कंस्ट्रेंट टू इट बाय पुटिंग दैट कंक्रीट क्यूब्स इन द हॉट वाटर. इसके वजह से उसमें स्ट्रेंथ लॉस होता है, इसके वजह से उसमें स्ट्रेंथ लॉस होता है, एंड दैट इज कॉल्ड एज इंट्रिंसिक स्ट्रेंथ. That is called as intrinsic strength. So therefore, maturity is a concept in which we are keeping that concrete cube in the hot water bath. Because of hot water, the rate of gain of strength is increases, and because of the rate of gain of strength increases, achievement is strength is more pronounced. Secondly, people are also asked about the weight of one bag of what we can say cement. Again, it is a 50 kg. Then many people asked about what is the volume of one bag of cement. That is again question 0.034 cubic meter. Secondly, the cost of cement bag, which are the various companies are to be involved in the cement bag manufacturing. What exactly the RMC is, how RMC maintain that what we can say or delay the mixing time, what type of admixture they are going to use, what is the basic difference between your chemical admixtures and your chemical admixture and mineral admixtures. Mineral admixtures means your GGBS, fly ash, then metakaolin, and then rice husk, silica fumes. These are the mineral admixtures. Now, why these mineral admixtures we are going to add? We are going to add the mineral admixtures so that those mineral admixtures is reacts with byproduct of cement hydration reaction, that is CaOH by 2, and when this CaOH by 2 reacts with mineral admixture silica, then again it will form calcium silicate hydrate, and that calcium silicate hydrate is basically again gives you the additional strength. So that's exactly called as pozzolanic reaction. So this pozzolanic reaction is also there. So whether that pozzolanic or pozzolanic reaction is essential for you, yes, according to the environmental norms, it is now necessary for us that we should add this fly ash or pozzolanic material into our concrete. In case of road construction, it is mandatory. Up to 40% people are adding it. So these are the points which are to be essential. Now government are forcing us to utilize. Secondly, many people ask whether OPC is good or PPC is good. Both are good. Okay, whether you are going to use the OPC, whether you are going to use the PPC, both are good. Only thing is the rate of gain of strength. The rate of gain of strength. अगर आपने ग्राफ देखा होगा, see, there are so many points to talk on the concrete. Then, in case of OPC, the graph is in this way. This is time, and this one is what we can say strength. In case of PPC, this is OPC. In case of PPC, yes, initially less, but after 28 days, it will be more. So this is PPC. Now, why this thing? Why this thing has happened? This thing has happened because within this regime, there is a maximum production of CaOH by 2. Maximum production of CaOH by 2. Now this CaOH by 2 is freely available for silica, which is in your mineral admixture. In your mineral admixture. So the silica is reacts with this CH. So silica is reacts with this, and it will form CSH. Now what exactly the CSH? The CSH is nothing but it is a hydration product, that is calcium silicate hydrate, which has a cementitious property. So these are the things which we are going to consider. So ultimately, from the strength point of view, after 28 days, this will give you the more strength. Again, nowadays, every structural designer have their own NDT form. NDT means non-destructive testing. Generally, in case of non-destructive testing, we are utilized first rebound hammer. Second, we are utilizing UPV, ultra pulse velocity. Third, we are utilizing what we can say core cutter test. Then we are also have that RCPT test. That is reinforced corrosion penetration test. Through this test, we know the what we can say the corrosion of reinforcement. People also utilizing carbonation test. So these are the few tests which are to be performed in the NDT. NDT means without breaking your structure, you can assess the strength. But again, how much we rely on the NDT results? It is again a question mark. So nowadays people are generally utilize these two tests in a combination. That is the rebound hammer and UPV. It's a very simple test. Rebound hammer में एक हैमर रहता है जिसको हम प्रेस करने के बाद यहाँ पे उसका इंडिकेटर रहता है जो एक वैल्यू देता है, उस वैल्यू को हम कोरिलेट करते हैं स्ट्रेंथ के साथ. दैट विल बी द सिंपल थिंग. लेकिन प्रॉब्लम उसमें ये है कि अगर ये मेरा कंक्रीट, सपोज ये मेरा कंक्रीट है, लेकिन आई विल डू दी प्लास्टरिंग टू दैट कंक्रीट, और वो प्लास्टर का जो लेवल रहता है 12 mm तो रहता ही है. तो जब मैं रिबाउंड लेता हूँ तो instead of indicating the strength of that concrete, it will indicate the strength of that plaster. So there are so many points which are to be considered. अब उसमें ये कहा जाता है कि rebound hammer consider 25 mm thick layer strength. Some people at the time of testing they will just scrap off that plaster and then they take the test. In case of UPV, simple. We have two transducers. Suppose this is the beam. These are the transducers. So these are connected to some electrical system. So electrical waves are to be passed through it. So they reach over here. So time required to reach this wave from there to there, that time is recorded over this. From the time we calculate, we know this distance. This distance is L. Time is known to us. L by T. We calculate a velocity. From the velocity, we calculate the quality of that concrete. Obviously, अगर उसमें voids होंगे उस concrete में तो ये time बढ़ेगा. This time is increases. अगर voids नहीं होंगे तो ये time कम रहेगा. So if there is a voids, time increases. If there is no voids, time decreases. As time decreases, velocity increases. तो जिसकी ज़्यादा velocity होगी उतना अच्छा concrete होगा. That is the interpretation from this UPV. Core cutter test. Generally, this core cutter test people are trying to avoid in case of building, but it is again. Some people may consider, some people may not consider. When you are doing the core cutter test, what you will do, you have that 100 mm dia core cutter. You just take a piece of concrete in this way. It's a cylindrical specimen basically. This is the length, this is the diameter. Generally this is 100. This is 200. Some people use 150. Then this is 300. Now again, why this aspect ratio? Aspect ratio means what? This is D. This one is L. L by D is equals to 2. ये aspect ratio 2 क्यों लेते हैं लोग? इसका भी एक specific reason है. Because at an aspect ratio of 2, that strength ratio becomes 1. So therefore, we are going to consider this. If suppose if you are decreasing this L by D, अगर आपने 1.5 दिया तो यहाँ पे अगर आपको 100 स्ट्रेंथ मिल रहा है तो इन दिस केस दैट विल बी मोर देन 100. that will be more than 100. And secondly, if you take L by D is equals to 3, then the strength is less than 100. Strength is less than 100. So therefore that should be a proper correlation. इसलिए graph है. I don't remember that graph, but yes, ऐसा कुछ graph है. So there is a L by D. No, there is a strength ratio, and there is a L by D. So this is 2, then the strength ratio is equals to 1. If it is decreases, strength ratio increases. ऐसे ग्राफ है, strength ratio versus L by D. So from that point, we are going to assess the strength. So these are the few points NDT generally consider for. Nowadays, people are more focused towards the NDT. Some people also now put the provision of NDT in their tender document itself, that you should do the NDT of our newly constructed structure. Because again, how much we rely on the cube test results. Secondly, quality control parameters. If you are going to the construction site, see, there are n number of parameters which will hamper your quality. So again, how to improve the quality, that will be the question. Standard deviation, how can control the standard deviation, that is again question. What is the bell shape of that standard deviation curve, bell shape curve, that is again question. In RMC, if you are selected or if you are good, then in that case, instead of that plus minus 15%, they are utilizing that upper bound theorem and lower bound theorem. Upper bound theorem, lower bound theorem, very simple है. We don't have time. This is average strength. यहाँ 2 लाइन रहती है. This is lower bound. This is upper bound. अब आपके टेस्ट रिजल्ट्स आप यहाँ प्लॉट करते जाते हो. And from this plotting, there is one correlation. Through this correlation, you are going to justify the thing. Again, if you are going for the quality control interview, then in that case, people may ask you about the individual test, and secondly, they may ask you about the group test. तो आपके 4, 5, 6 में एक टेबल है जहाँ पे हम लोग conformity test करते हैं, means whether the cube results are to be adopted or it is not adopted. So that conformity test means individual test result FCK minus 3 and then 0.825 into standard deviation plus something. That formula is there. According to that formula, we are going to analyze whether those cube tests are to be considered for further calculations or not. So these are the things. Secondly, quantification means what we are going to deal with now. Generally, people are asking how you are going to calculate the plaster quantity, how you make the deduction, what is lintel, how you are going to calculate the length of lintel, then what is the depth of lintel, how you are going to calculate the skirting, how you are going to have the what we can say deduction in case of brickwork on the basis of thickness. If it is 150, whether you are calculating in square meter or cubic meter. What exactly the AAC block, if I am going to utilize the AAC block, then whether the normal plaster is okay or we are going to have the glycoplast plaster. What exactly that प्लास्टरिंग ऊपर से नीचे से मतलब ऊपर से नीचे करते कि नीचे से ऊपर करते, that will be again question. Secondly, at the time of what we can say the installation of skirting, whether you plastered it and then make it or scrap it, or you can leave that portion as it is and then fix. Then what are the different types of plastering process? What do you mean by punty plaster? What do you mean by local language? It is called as again छर्रा plaster. एक मशीन आती है जिसमें वो गोल घुमाते हैं तो sand particles छोटे जो पत्थर रहते हैं, size is around 2.36 or 1. वो आप plaster करते हो, but again in that plaster initially it looks good, but with the passage of time, dust and other particles are settled down and it will give you the what we can say. Matlab, it will not give you the good look, it will give you the dull look. So therefore now people are trying to avoid. Many times people ask you what exactly the pergola is, what is the why pergola is implied. Now what is submission drawing, what is the basic difference between your submission drawing and working drawing, what scale you are going to consider in case of submission drawing, what scale you are going to consider in case of working drawing. If in case of submission drawing, what are the different area parameters we consider, like built up area, then we have that premium area, we have that balcony area. Nowadays, from January, the new DCRR release means all over the Maharashtra there is a common development control rules. Before January 2021, each department means each city have their own development control rule, but now development control rules are same. So what are the development control rules? What is the premium balcony area? What is the permissible balcony area? What is the permissible? What do you mean by FSI? What exactly the tangent correction is? Then what do you mean by red zone? What do you mean by green zone in your drawing? What exactly indicated in the TDR certificate? What exactly? These are the things which are to be asked. These are the things which are to be asked. Now, who is going to ask this thing? The person or the firm which is involved in the drawing. The person or firm which is involved in the drawing. So these are the points which are essential from that aspect. Secondly, what basic difference between architectural drawing and say structural drawing? What details we are getting through structural drawing? How those details are to be implemented? What exactly the quantity of steel? These are the few parameters which are to be necessary to know. Then, when we do the quantification, people are generally asked about uh, unit weight of steel rod. Unit weight of steel rod. Suppose if this is a 1 meter rod of 12 mm dia, 1 meter rod of 12 mm dia, then what is the unit weight? Means iska weight kitna hoga? So this is 0.89 kg per meter. 0.89 kg per meter. If suppose if I consider 10 mm dia bar, 1 meter bar of 10 mm, then its weight is 0.62 kg per meter. So in this way, people may ask you what is the kg per meter weight of bar, kg per meter weight of bar, and from that kg per meter weight of bar, you can calculate the, if you know in your project, this 12 mm dia bar, the length is 120 meter use, 120 meter use. You know that the weight of 1 meter is 0.89 kg. So therefore 0.89 kg per meter, meter get cancelled and you will get this multiplication. So this quantification is again necessary. Then people are also asked about how you are going to decrease the wastage of steel. Now generally if you visit the large scale project, then wastage is around 3%. The wastage is around 3%. Now 3% means again it is a large quantity. So at that time, to reduce this wastage, we can have pre-plan of cutting, pre-plan of cutting of steel bars. So this is the one of the method through which you can, which is called as BBS, that is bar bending schedule. Through this bar bending schedule, you can optimize the quantification of steel. Secondly, many times in case of estimates, people are also ask you about the market rates. Secondly, people are also judge you, what do you mean by royalty? Royalty means it is taxes or it is charges that we have to pay to the government. We have to pay to the government. Those taxes or those charges are basically called as royalty. Generally, royalty is based on, generally royalty is considered on, first one is your sand and second one is your muru. So therefore, these two elements are to be considered under royalty. There are few more. Aggregate is not considered under royalty. 20 mm, 10 mm aggregate is not considered under royalty. So that will be the parameter, and that royalties depend upon 1 cubic meter. According to my knowledge, it is around 141 rupees per cubic meter. 141 rupees per cubic meter. This is the charge we have to pay. So many times वो जो sand वाला problem होता है ना, that is called as रेती घाट का जो टेंडर निकलता है that time, मतलब उनको कहा जाता है कि you can take X amount from this river, but the people or the contractor who get that tender, instead of X, he will do the 1.3 times of X or 1.5 times of X or sometimes 2 or 3 times of X. So that quantification, that quantity, they don't pay the royalty. They don't pay the royalty. Secondly, people may ask you or they like to know whether you understand what exactly the MB is. MB means it is a measurement book. Measurement book means how you are going to do or enter the measurement at your construction site to the measurement book, that is called as MB. So MB recording is the point the people like to know whether you are capable. So what the columns are simple. There is a L, there is a B, H, numbers, then quantity, then there is a remark and distance. Then few people may ask you about the tenders and contracts, what exactly tenders are, what exactly the contracts are. What is the basic difference between tender and contract? People don't know. Many students, they don't know what exactly the tender and what exactly the contract. Many people said that the tender and contract one and the same thing. No, tender is, it is an offer given by you. It is not accepted by that contractor. So आप टेंडर निकालते हो, टेंडर के लिए कॉन्ट्रैक्टर अप्लाई करता है, अप्लाई करते समय दैट टाइम दैट पर्सन इज नॉट कॉल्ड एज कॉन्ट्रैक्टर, इट इज कॉल्ड एज टेंडरर. फिर आप उसका कंपैरेटिव स्टेटमेंट बनाते हो, जो लोवेस्ट है उसको आप काम अलॉट करते हो. अब जो लोवेस्ट है उसको काम अलॉट करने के बाद वो वर्क ऑर्डर निकलता है, वर्क ऑर्डर साइन होता है, देन दैट टेंडरर बिकम्स द कॉन्ट्रैक्टर एंड देन दैट डॉक्यूमेंट, टेंडर डॉक्यूमेंट बिकम्स द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डॉक्यूमेंट्स. सो देयर इज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन टेंडरर एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. Secondly, at site you have to again deal with extra quantity. How we are going to define the extra quantity? Extra quantity कैसे define करोगे? So there are certain rules whether that quantity is called as extra quantity or it is not called as extra quantity. Generally people may ask you in the construction process, आप एक दिन में कितना हाइट ब्रिक वर्क का कर सकते हो? So again, secondly people may ask you whether you know about the coping. कोपिंग मतलब 8 या 9 ब्रिक्स होने के बाद, मतलब I forget the name. So this is first, second, third, fourth. ये 6 या 7 होने के बाद you are providing one PCC layer over that brick. That is called as coping. So what is the function of coping? So these are the few points which are to be considered when you are dealing with the site. So generally people ask you about the concrete. Concrete is very generalized, anyone can ask anything. Many times what happens, people may ask you the question but they themselves don't know the answer. So be confident, use your sense what exactly the answer is, and at the time of talking in concrete, or you can say estimate or steel or drawing, you should be more technical rather than the telling them the overall view, what happened and how it will work. Be technical, use technical terminologies and give the justification on the basis of technical aspect. Don't talk in what we can say in a layman point of view कि हम curing क्यों करते हैं, क्योंकि उसके पानी ये होता है वो होता है. No, curing has certain to maintain the temperature regime. To maintain temperature regime it will be helpful. अब minimum water content, water cement ratio कितना लगता है for the complete hydration? It is around 0.38 and we are adding 0.45. We are adding why we are adding? To attain that workability. Secondly, IS 456 में कुछ codes prescribe किए हैं, values prescribe किए हैं. Those values are very essential, like pH कितना होना चाहिए पानी का, which is for the around 6. फ्रेश कंक्रीट का पीएच कितना होना चाहिए या हार्डन कंक्रीट का पीएच कितना होना चाहिए, वेदर दैट पीएच इज हेल्पफुल फॉर यू और इट इज नॉट हेल्पफुल फॉर यू. यस, पीएच इज हेल्पफुल. पीएच अगर ज्यादा रहेगा तो रेनफोर्समेंट का कोरोजन रेट कम रहेगा, और पीएच जनरली 12 से 13 रहता है इन केस ऑफ फ्रेश कंक्रीट और थिक कंक्रीट. पीएच कम कैसे होता है? पीएच कम होता है कार्बोनेशन रिएक्शन की वजह से. व्हाट कार्बोनेशन रिएक्शन इज? कार्बोनेशन रिएक्शन इज नथिंग बट इट इज अ लीचिंग प्रोसेस. व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय लीचिंग प्रोसेस? व्हेन द वाटर इज ingress inside your concrete body, then that water is expelled out with CaCOH by 2 content, and the CaCOH by 2 content, if it is come out of the concrete body, ultimately the pH value is going to be decreases. So this leaching process is basically called as carbonation, and after carbonation there is a product formed CaCO3 by 2. Now whether this CaCO3 by 2 is helpful or it is not helpful, in one way it is helpful, because if CaCO3 by 2 अगर बनता है तो डेंसिटी ऑफ कंक्रीट इंक्रीज होती है. डेंसिटी ऑफ कंक्रीट इंक्रीज होती है, इसका मतलब है इट विल अपोज द परमेबिलिटी और इंग्रेस ऑफ फॉरेन मटेरियल. सो दीज आर द पॉइंट. बट ये COH by CaCO3 by 2 CaCO3 कब बनता है? व्हेन देयर इज अ लीचिंग प्रोसेस. लेकिन वी डोंट वांट द लीचिंग प्रोसेस. व्हाई वी डोंट वांट द लीचिंग प्रोसेस? क्योंकि उसका पीएच वैल्यू कम होता है. पीएच वैल्यू कम होने की वजह से चांसेस ऑफ रेनफोर्समेंट के करोजन के बढ़ जाते हैं. सो देयर आर मेनी इफ एंड बट्स इन द कंक्रीट, बट यस, it is necessary to understand the things. Is it okay? So generally from concrete gate point of view उतना नहीं है, but if you are going for the interview then it will be must. It will be must. In case of gate, the weightage is towards the structural analysis and strength of material and geotech and environmental. Concrete, two or one or two question may ask, but if you go for the interview point of view, many people are having the questions on the concrete. Is it okay? So thank you. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, you may leave.